Wow, what a weekend this was! Well, we're going to start out and talk a little bit about the West Point graduation, and then I'm going to give you some updates on what's going on in CHAZ. And then we're going to end with Trumptilla. So stick with me, folks. I'll be right back. Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and wow, what a weekend this was! I'm recording this on Sunday night, just to let you know. So let's start with the West Point graduation. Now, I watched a version of it that only had President Trump's speech. This version actually goes through the whole thing. It was 2.5 hours long, and it was really interesting, with the whole graduation thing. Of course, nobody was there except for the cadets and then the people up on stage, pretty much. There was nobody else. And so when you hear applause, you don't hear very much applause at all. And especially since all the cadets had gloves on, you really don't hear when they're clapping. It's all muffled. So I wanted to point this out to you, though, because President Trump saluted every one of these guys, okay, and girls as they went through. And so I thought that was just pretty incredible that he was up there. There was a general there too, and they were saluting each and every one. So thought it was really nice. He didn't get to shake their hands, although at the end, after the ceremony was over and everything, he was mingling and he was shaking some hands. So, of course, none of them had any mask on. I know these 4 guys do here, but none of the people up on stage had masks, and the cadets, I don't think they had masks either. So very interesting on that too. But I did want to point this out to you, and I also wanted to remind you, well, in the last video I pointed out that they were making fun of Trump as he was coming down the ramp. Well, if you watch that ramp, it's kind of at more of a steeper angle than normal. So I think there was a reason why he was being very cautious, because can you imagine what would happen if he would happen to fall? Oh my. It would be a heyday for the haters in the press. But wow. Anyway, so I just thought I would leave this down below in the links. I always put them in the description. So just in case you're new, that's where I put them. So just pop open the description and you'll be able to find everything there. So like I said, I wanted to give you this one since it does have all of the full beginning and middle and end. And it was just very interesting to see his interaction. And he really, I think at the end of it, when, they got to throw their hats up in the air and everything, he was smiling. I think he really, really enjoys doing this, but that's a long time to be saluting people. I don't know how many of them there were, but my arm would get tired. So he's in pretty good shape for being 74 years old, I think. Also, there was a proclamation on Flag Day and National Flag Week, in case you didn't know, that he has proclaimed the week that starts with Flag Day, and everything that comes after in this next week is going to be Flag Week. So, fly your flags, everybody, and that's what this is about, because for more than 200 years, the Stars and Stripes has represented liberty, justice, and the rule of law. Recently, as our nation has come together to respond to the coronavirus pandemic, our flag has been a reminder of the courage, tenacity, and loyalty that define the indomitable American spirit. Our great flag causes us to reflect humbly on the immeasurable price that has been paid to keep it so gallantly streaming. Throughout our nation's history, proud patriots have nobly answered the call of duty when our country needed them most. The Star-Spangled Banner serves as an everlasting remembrance of the sacrifices heroes of every generation have made in conflicts, from the Revolutionary War to the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. Our flag ensures that we will never forget the incredible sacrifices our men and women in uniform have made to defend our liberty and way of life. This year, Old Glory has waved over millions of brave Americans fighting the invisible enemy, often at risk to their personal health and well-being. Throughout the coronavirus pandemic, healthcare professionals have treated and cared for those sickened by the virus, and countless American patriots have provided critical goods and services to their fellow citizens in these uncertain times. These dedicated individuals have risen to the challenge, meeting the virus on the front lines with the same conviction and unwavering determination that has empowered our nation to overcome previous trials. Just as we prevailed in those struggles, we will emerge victorious against this new enemy and again raise our flag in triumph. The American flag represents the unity of our country and its people. No matter what may divide us, Old Glory should be revered and cherished as a symbol of all that makes America the greatest country in the world. As we honor our beautiful flag on this day and throughout this week, let us vow never to forget the tremendous sacrifices made by patriots from generation to generation to ensure that the red, white, and blue continues to fly high and free. Today and every day, I am proud to join my fellow Americans in standing tall and saluting our great American flag. Okay, so then it says, to commemorate it, that's what we're going to do, is celebrate the Flag Week, the entire week this week. So, there you go on that. And then let's talk about this for a minute. Now, things have kind of piled up on me over the last week because there's just been so much to try to keep up with. I mean, there's been hearings, there's been this, there's been that. And so I didn't get to this until today. I saw little clips of it, but this was an interview that this Margaret Brennan, and I don't know if she's related to John Brennan. I didn't find anything, but then I didn't go very far back. So she's not his daughter or anything like that. I know that. But they do share the same last name, which I thought was kind of odd. And a lot of these people, are all related. She's with Face the Nation, and she interviewed Bill Barr, and oh, it was great. She got pummeled, man. She thought she was setting him up for all these gotcha questions, and she tried, but he took every one of them and boom, 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 knocked her right down on him because he had facts. And she was using fake news, and he called her out on it. He didn't actually use the term fake news, but he might as well have. Because there were so many times that he said, no, that's not true. That's not true. And he just said what was really happening. I mean, she tried her best to say those were, peaceful protesters. He goes, no, I was there. They weren't. She kept repeating the whole, they were gassed. No, they weren't. And she was talking about the day that Trump walked over to the church, and she was trying to say that, they, gassed these poor innocent people. And it's like, no, they didn't. So, they used chemicals on them. No, pepper spray, not a chemical. Okay. So it was amazing. You really need to see this interview. If you haven't seen it, it's really worth watching because he just takes her and hits it every time she tries to jab at him. He gives her a knockout. It's great. So you got to watch this. Definitely worth your time. I actually watched it twice. It was so good. Okay, now I talked about this in my last video, and you can see that they've increased quite a bit, almost doubled, because I think it was 6,000 when I had the other video. So yes, they're doing great. I think Greg Gutfeld may have mentioned it, and so that's why they've gotten a lot of people. But they need more. They really do. This, if you had all that money going to George Floyd, there needs to be a significant amount going to these people. And somebody asked why I didn't mention who the guy was that killed her. I didn't know when I found it because I found it like right before I started recording, and I didn't find out until later on what the situation was. Well, I saw like something like this, and it was just talking about these people being killed in the cemetery, and it had virtually no information on it. And then I read this one, but this one then I think has the picture down here of the guy. There's a picture of him. It's just so sad. They went there every day, I guess, to visit their son and, their son's grave. And just so sad. They were both shot just yards away from their son's grave. I just can't imagine. And then I found out the gunman. So this is probably why you're not seeing it in the news, because nobody wants to mention this. And he killed himself, or somehow he ended up dead. I don't know if they know he killed himself, or if he was shot by some of the officers. I don't know what the situation was, but they did find out that he died as well. So, I just can't imagine what would cause somebody to do something like that. So I was not hiding anything. It's just that I wasn't aware of it at the time that I did the recording. So, and then I want to bring this to your attention. Donald Trump Jr. Put this out. This is the guy. I saw this video on Twitter, and it was horrific when I watched it. He was trying to stop someone, and he got hit by a car. I mean, it was just, they purposely ran over this officer. It was just awful. Well, he's not doing well at all. And so there is a GoFundMe for him. Now, he has significantly more money, but he's in the hospital, and it's very likely he will not walk again. And here's the information. It says on June 9th, 2020, veteran Springfield, Missouri police officer Mark Preby was struck after attempting to make contact with a suspect who proceeded to ram Officer Preby with his vehicle. Officer Preby was dragged and pinned beneath the suspect's vehicle and a concrete pillar. At this time, Officer Preby has suffered extensive injuries, and it is unknown if he will ever walk again. And then, unfortunately, Mark's wife, Heather, was diagnosed with cancer in 2019 and has been undergoing chemotherapy and other treatments, including a planned surgery in July. I mean, can you imagine? This is just not, it's hard enough going through cancer and then having this happen to your husband. I can't imagine. So, again, I want to leave both of these GoFundMes. If you can afford anything, I just think these are two really good causes. So I don't say much about causes, but I really do want to put these out there for you. The links will be down below. And then this one, we're going to get a little lighter here because we're going to start talking about CHAZ. And CHAZ is the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone that's going on in Seattle. And I want to thank BJ Long for pointing me to this video. It was fairly entertaining, but they were talking about the garden, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But they led me to this page, that's this Twitter feed, that's CHAZ Updates. And some of the stuff that they're putting out is just craziness. Of course, it's gotten into a bit of a parody at this point. But some of it, it's real pictures like this. This is a real picture. Now, I don't know about any of you, but I used to go camping all the time. And I was really good at putting up a tent, and my tents never looked like that. What's the deal with these tents and tarps and stuff? It's just, do they not know how to put up a tent? I don't know. I will tell you that this CHAZ Updates, if you're going to subscribe to them or follow them, there's some not so great language, and some of this I'm going to have to either block out or I'm going to have to blank out. So if you see blank spaces around your screen, you'll know that I was taking care of some language there with that. So I just thought this, with the tents, it's like, wow. Well, they evidently have some kind of Reddit type group. They're putting messages back and forth on Reddit. And we will form a unique system called the Conflict Resolution Advisory Council. I don't know how long these people think they're going to stay there, because they're kind of talking like this is their forever home. And I certainly hope this is not going to last a whole lot longer. Although there are many people that are starting to get bored with it and realize that it's not the utopia they thought it was going to be. And we're going to talk about why on that later. But, it's part of this. So they've decided to have a community democratic vote to appoint 3 people to the council. To eliminate prejudice, we elect 1 black man, 1 black woman, and 1 white woman. Each person should undergo at least one 45-minute sensitivity and political training session, which we can help organize. Woohoo! Who's going to be teaching it? And what qualifications do they have to teach something like that? Whenever there is an internal conflict in the zone, it will be put to the council. Both people will have an opportunity to present their side of the story to the council to review. The council members will decide on a fair resolution and provide it as advice. Initially, the council will be advisory only. In the future, the system could evolve to become more mature with binding resolutions, impositions, retribution, enforcement, and imprisonment. So, they're police force. They don't want police, but they're forming their own police force essentially here. Oh, it's just funny. The appointed people will hear out and settle any internal disputes within the zone. We're not suggesting that this council members become leaders or judges, only referees in case of internal conflicts. And then they had an edit down here. After receiving feedback about inclusiveness, we shall include in the council one black man, one black woman, one trans black person, one non-binary black person. And they crossed out the one white woman and changed it from 5 down to 4. I don't know where the 5 came from because it was only 3 at the top. So I don't know. And then this one, this is where we get some of the language. This is from the Reddit page, I assume. I like your logic. Your valuables get stolen and you should see it as an unplanned donation. You people are insane. If you don't want your valuables reassigned, then you can lock and secure them. It's not rocket scientists. Valuables reassigned? What in the world? Victim blaming much? The victim will be fine. We have to remember why we are here. Also, blacks are far more often the victims of thefts, including being disproportionately unemployed and disproportionately without health insurance. Really? These people. And I don't know. This was pretty much all over here to the side. That was pretty much just stuff I had to block out anyway. So, and then this one. Please don't leave. We are stronger together. You don't exactly know what happened to your belongings. Somebody got something stolen, right? Only that they vanished. So to say it is theft is not entirely fair. It could be that a disadvantaged resident was in greater need of the items than you. And that's what we are about as a community. I know it's hard to hear this, but treat it as an unplanned donation. You did good today. I'm proud of you. Oh my goodness. Oh, and then this was something that they put up. And they said, PSA, lock, secure your tents before leaving it. Carry your valuables with you at all times. Okay, again, I have been tent camping many, many, many times. How in the world do you lock your tent? You just don't. You zip it up and hope nobody's going to get in there, right? Oh, disclaimer. This happened 2 hours ago and I'm still recovering from the shock as all my valuables have been stolen. Okay. Oh, okay. I'm going to get more serious on this, right? Came back from a walk to my tent and all my valuable items are gone. My laptop, 16-inch MVP, power banks, cash of about $400, an entire backpack with my week's supplies are now gone. I'm sorry. Oh, here, he locked it. I completely zipped up my tent before leaving it. But please don't take for granted and lock it up. Or bring your valuables with you. He walked away and left $400, a laptop, power banks, and his backpack in the tent and thought that zipping it up was going to keep it safe. Oh, so anyway. So he's warning everybody else. The surrounding people have been helpful to look for it, but no luck so far. I've asked around and it's just too chaotic as people are constantly walking around tents all the time. Edit. I have reached out for help and the council has been kind to extend their assistance. I have been subsidized with fresh clothes, snacks, spare power banks, and some petty cash to cover my logistics. They are now reviewing webcam and community-sourced footages to help reallocate my items. However, I've been notified that the chances are slim. You think? I'm grateful for the help from everyone. Good grief, they're looters. They were looting stuff. Do you think they're going to give you back something they took from you? They looted those stores. So I just hope to get back my MacBook, not because it's expensive, but because most of my work is stored there. Thanks, everybody, once again. Well, I guess that was just an unintended donation there. Oh, okay. And speaking of, okay, now this guy, I'm going to have to bleep out a lot of this, but I think you'll get the gist. Okay, notice this windshield has been smashed. Okay, it has been broken. And from what I gather as he's talking here, they took his keys to his car. And so he doesn't know where the keys are. And so anyway, here we go.
I'm not in any show. I have rights. What the f*** is this? I just had my keys broken, stolen, got jumped, had my phone stolen, and then you just let it all happen. What the f***? Stay the f*** away from me, you f***, everyone! Y'all need police around this bitch if you're me. Holy shit. You're alright, man. It's just a bad day. Really? Give me my keys back then. Someone give me those f***ing keys from that.
Did you believe the guy? It's just a bad day. I guess it's a bad day. Oh, man. Oh, are they dealing with reality here? I mean, that was just crazy. Oh. And speaking of craziness, in my last video, I had a video by Jack Posobiec, and I said it kind of seemed a little odd to me. Well, I needed to know the context, and so I have found some of the context for it. And here we are. This was the fight that broke out in CHAZ, and this is how it started. Okay, so you see this speaker that this guy has. Well, that's what they were trying to take away from him, and that's what he was desperately trying to hold on to when they started beating on him. So that's why you get this.
This is autonomous capital zone!
No one is trying to hold you captive, but you cannot play the speaker anymore.
Yes, I will!
No, you cannot. No, you cannot.
We will.
You cannot.
Yes, we will. We will preach the case. We will talk about our king! He's gonna go.
Hang on.
Rock knock on our ship! Jesus! Give me the power of six! Give me the spirit of the Lord!
I need help. Fuck, dude, put this speaker down. I need fucking help. I've got this man's arm. I need help. But
No, take my stuff! Let go of my property!
Okay, and I don't want to take the whole clip because then you get in trouble, but you saw enough of it that you can understand what was going on there. And then I'm not going to play this one, but he was unconscious at this point, at the end of things. They stole his speaker. Now, whether you agree or not with what he was saying, the whole point of this commune that they've created here is supposed to be that people don't need police, that they can do what they want to do. And this isn't true, obviously, because what this man was doing was not acceptable to a bunch of people. And so what did they do? They stole that speaker from him. And they silenced him. So whether I agree or not with what he was saying, I just think that it was kind of crazy that that's what they did. So let's get to the garden, because enough of the heavy stuff, right? All right. The garden itself. Now, as I said, I have a channel, Garden Devotions, and I did a lot with container gardening and raised beds and stuff a few years ago when I was a little bit healthier and I could manage that kind of stuff. But some of what they're doing is not necessarily, it's kind of getting a bad rap. But here's the garden itself, and if you look at it, you can see what they did was they took cardboard and they put down, and then they put some dirt on top. The problem is not the cardboard, okay? That's actually a very good idea if you're going to be planting on grass. It kills the grass, and it will decompose. If you have worms in the soil, they'll eat it, compost worms, and it just deteriorates over time. The plants eventually will be able to put roots down through it, but you need more soil on top than this. And look at how they have these plants like scattered everywhere. There's just no rhyme or reason to them. So here's more of it, and the plants are looking not so great at this point even, but what are they going to do? Look at that. They have barely any dirt on there. And the guy that was dancing was not dancing on this. It was a different garden that they had that was specially for blacks. That was what that was supposed to be. And I guess he was supposed to be claiming it for his own. See, the problem you have when you get a society like this is there are no rules. What it's starting to seem to me like is these are a bunch of people who are used to playing all these games on, computer games, video games, where they plant a garden like Farm Town or Farm whatever, and you create a garden and it just magically grows. And, they don't have any touch with reality, because even with these plants like this, and I don't know where they got the plants, but even with these plants at this stage, it's still going to be 2 months before they really get stuff out of it. Now, you'd be able to have a little bit of the lettuce before then, but still, if you're, you got tomatoes over here, you've got, I think this is bean, and this is a pepper maybe. It's kind of hard to tell from the picture, but, it's going to be a while before those produce something. And even if they get this whole thing and it is producing the most it possibly can, it's not going to feed very many people at all, especially if they're vegetarians. It just isn't. So somebody wrote this. This is again from that CHAZ Updates Twitter feed. And they said they have this. And said, why people are making fun of the people's garden. Okay, I see you guys are getting trolled to pieces over this, and I get why you're deleting those comments, but I feel the need to at least try and explain to you why everyone is laughing at this and making it into a meme as briefly as I can. There's a difference between trolling and legitimate and well-meaning criticism, right? For the purpose of this post, I'll accept the mod's explanation that this is just a fun community project and not intended to actually feed anyone. The nice thing about public recreational parks is that anyone can use them for free regardless of social class and income level. You just put down cardboard over grass in a public park, which is going to kill the grass, which when all your plants are dead in, at best, a couple of weeks, is going to have to be replaced with new turf. And, quote, the people are going to pay for that through taxes, unless you would like a permanent patch of dead grass left as a memorial to the protest. If you intended to plant a garden just as a fun thing to do, the least you could have done was ask somebody who has even a bare minimum of experience making green things grow to help you. To phrase it in a way that will hopefully make sense to people in this sub, from each according to his ability to each according to his need. I think you forgot the ability part. People have unequal levels of expertise. Just as an illiterate farmer might have a hard time running a government, reading Bakunin definitely doesn't prepare you to start a farm or even a community garden. As others have pointed out, it probably will take more calories to plant and care for these crops than they will yield. This is not the way agriculture works. If you wanted it to be just a fun project, it would have been better to plant a flower garden, or even better, plant some new trees and care for them as a memorial. I seriously doubt that you would get in any trouble in a city as wealthy and liberal as Seattle for planting trees without a permit during this protest. Would it be possible to just get rid of the herbs and get some flowers or tree saplings instead? What it boils down to put it bluntly, is that this whole thing just has urban bougie written all over it. People who obviously know nothing about making plants grow occupied a public park and decided to use that public property to stick potted plants from Home Depot Gardening Center into an inch of dirt on top of cardboard boxes. Call it whatever you will, it doesn't change what it is. It honestly does come across just as an attempt to set up a photo op and has nothing to do with police reform, abolition, and racism, which, unless I'm completely mistaken, is supposed to be the focal point, I think, of this whole thing. So anyway, I thought that was pretty good. I mean, it's just like, really, do they honestly believe that this is going to produce something in less than a month? And do they think that they're going to be there that long? That's what I really want to know. Well, anyway, so I decided to look up whether the Trumptilla had happened, because I haven't really heard much about it, and I haven't been on Twitter too much today. I was a little bit this morning. But, yeah, so I put it in DuckDuckGo, and guess what I get? Biden's short list is long on complications. And then all the rest of them, do you see NBC or CBS or ABC on this? No, I don't see them either. Kind of interesting that they aren't appearing in the results. But you've got this Biden shortlist article. So let's look at this. Well, this is from Forbes, and it says President Trump turned 74 today. Not that the nation was paying much attention given the unrest in Atlanta. Okay, and by the way, the Atlanta thing happened on the 13th. Remember I said about the 13th. I'm kind of wondering if there weren't some things in the work on that. It was a really weird situation on that. And they keep saying the guy was unarmed. He was armed. He had the officer's taser. So he tried to taser that officer. I don't know. It's a knee-jerk reaction to it. There's no way that the one officer should have been fired right out. You can't do that. You have to do investigations. It's not fair. It's not due process. So I don't think he was treated fairly at all. And anyway, but let's go on. And so actually some Americans did notice. Some. In Jacksonville, Florida, now the new home for this summer Republicans' National Convention and a large audience for a Trump acceptance speech, a flotilla of flag-waving boaters took to the local riverways to honor the 45th president. The same scenario, a Trumptilla, played out over Florida's Gulf side. The day before Trump's birthday, boaters likewise took the Michigan's waters to honor the president, parading from northern Macomb County to Detroit. And then it talks down here about how many more birthdays will Trump enjoy as a sitting president? 4. Okay. 4. He's going to have 4 more. Good question. But at this point, this much we do know. Trump's only one of 3 U.S. presidents to turn a year older as a septuagenarian. Okay. So he could possibly at this point, because Ronald Reagan was 77 when he left office. It was right before his 78th birthday. So it does appear that President Trump could become the oldest president when he leaves office in 4 more years, because we know it's going to be 4 more years. And then we look at Joe Biden. Well, Joe Biden, who turned 78 just 17 days before Election Day, he's already 77 and going to be 78 just after the election. Whew. So imagine that. 4 more years, then he's going to be 82. Do we really think that at 82, Joe Biden's going to be sharp enough to be president? I don't think so. He's not sharp enough now. But look at this. I mean, this is how biased Forbes is. With that in mind, okay, so, he would be the first sitting U.S. president to have 80 candles on a birthday cake if Joe Biden were elected, which isn't going to happen. With that in mind, it seems like a good time to ponder how Biden, given his age, would approach the job. Now, check this out. Governing at the same pace as an individual just half his age, for example, former Democratic presidential hopeful Pete Buttigieg, who turns 39 in January, would seem a health risk. That means Biden needs to pace himself, which in turn means he'll have to be willing to share the presidential portfolio with his running mate. Substantive matters for the vice president as opposed to being relegated to funerals and fundraisers. Okay, do you hear what they're saying? Oh yeah, we're going to make this guy the most powerful man in the world, but we know he's not up to the job. But we're still hoping that he's going to make it because, Trump just can't continue. So anyway, I just had to show you that because it's so frustrating that this is what they do. It's ludicrous. Trump can run circles around other people his age. Big time. I just don't understand how people aren't seeing that. He's 74 for Pete's sake. That's not a spring chicken anymore. So what he does, though, he still does more than most of the people in his administration. And, there's a saying in his administration that you do things in Trump time, meaning you do it fast. You get it done now. And so they are having trouble. These younger people are all having trouble keeping up with him because he does have the energy. And the idea that Joe Biden, they know he can't keep up with it. He can't do the job himself. He would have to farm it out to somebody else. They already know that. And they're okay with it. That's what really gets me. Oh, so anyway, what's happening? Well, I'm going to shut off the sound on this, but you've got to see this. It's just a helicopter sound, so you're not missing anything. But yeah, this is Dan Scavino tweeted this out. Oh, and then the sound didn't go off. Let me try it again. There. Look at this. It just goes on and on. Can you imagine? And I thought, oh, well, we must be getting to the end. They're kind of sparse right there. Oh, no, look. They go all the way down and around the corner. And you couldn't even see the end of it. That's a lot of boats, folks. That's a lot of boats. Can you imagine what the Democrats are doing when they see this? They're like, we got to make sure people don't go to the polls. We really need those mail-in ballots because there's no way we're going to win, honestly. I mean, this is a ton of them. When you start looking at this, it's just amazing. And this was only one location right here. And this is just one location. If you go on, there are several places. This one is a guy from Michigan, and he posted it because he wanted to show what they were doing. And so, you've got, this is kind of from the ground floor. Yeah. There were a bunch of people there, and they had Trump signs and everything. And then you have this one. This was in Michigan, and it was, I think they said somewhere I read 750 boats. So it wasn't a small number, and they were going right to Detroit. So, I mean, it doesn't look like very many, but when you kind of look at the whole thing, there are lots of boats. See? There's more than it looks like there. So there were several. And then this one talks about the hundreds of boats filled Detroit River. And there again, we have some of the same ones. And this is a link to the one I just showed you. And another one that he had. So this has some really good ones. And this person's like, not sure what's going on at the Detroit River, but there are probably 100 boats with Trump flags right now. Yep, that's what was going on. And here was one from Lake St. Clair, Michigan. And it was amazing what went on. And I like what they say here. And the polls show Joe Biden with the lead. Can you imagine supporters throwing Joe Biden a boat parade? They're probably as sleepy as he is. So, yes, there were hundreds, and it was in the news. So it did make the local news. It didn't make the national, probably. But here's another one. This is from the conservative treehouse. And, yep, tens of thousands of voters join MAGA flotillas for Trump. So there's more. I mean, this is all these different places. There's lots of them in this one that you can watch. I mean, there's just boats everywhere. This is Palm Beach. Wow, that's a lot of boats. So this is just amazing what they did. And I really appreciate them doing that, because on Twitter today, when I'm recording this on Sunday, they were trying to take it over. And of course, you know, Twitter is tends to change the numbers when it comes to something that's trending that is conservative, like Happy Birthday, Mr. President. And they did let Happy Birthday Trump get through, and it became number 3 in the trending, even though it really should have been higher up than that. But yeah, they tried to take it over with Obama stuff. And they had a couple of hashtags with Obama in them that really went well, which is sad. It's just sad. So here's another one that's about the Michigan. And so you can go through here. And this was the original one that I showed yesterday that was talking about advertising for it. And so it was Trump's birthday boat rally. That's what they called it. So I just think this is a great idea. It's a way they got around the whole coronavirus lockdown and could still show their support for President Trump. And I do think that the left has to be very panicked when they see stuff like this, because this was grassroots. Nobody planned this. I mean, it wasn't like some big organization. The RNC didn't plan this. Trump didn't plan this. This was just a bunch of people that got together and wanted to show how much they love their president. So anyway, I just thought these were really great. I'm going to leave all the links down below so you can look through the articles on the Trumptilla yourself. And it's just fun to look at and to see all these different people, because this was huge. And I bet we're hearing crickets from the mainstream media. So anyway, that's what I've got for you on this one. And I want to thank you for stopping by, and I'll see y'all later.